Good day, Angelinians. Paxet Venya Adeo. In the previous video, you were enlightened on critical reading skills and the types of claims, namely claim of fact, claim of value, and claim of policy. Each claim would need to be supported by facts, evidence, or an expert's findings. Have you ever wondered why a text would seem familiar? It is as if you have known it before and seen it somewhere. Is there a connection from one text to another? Are these texts related in some way? In the study of a particular text or reading material, it is not enough for you to just know how to distinguish facts from claims. It is also a requisite that you know the environment or the context for which a material has been written. It is therefore essential that we start identifying the context of text development. There is always an inspiration behind the writing of a text, and often it leaves clues about the situation or the reality that served as the backdrop of the text. This backdrop, this situation, this reality is known as the context of the text. As presented on screen, the context is defined as the social, cultural, political, historical, and other related circumstances that surround the text and form the terms from which it can be better understood and evaluated. In discovering a reading's context, you may ask questions like, when was the work written? What were the circumstances that produced it? What issues does it deal with? There are several ways by which a text is developed. You learned in junior high school about the forms of essays such as descriptive, narrative, expository, and argumentative. Each form has its own way of developing the text, but here are the essentials that you need to remember. First is we need to have the purpose. So, as presented on screen, it must have an aim or an objective. What does this mean? This means that you need to know the reason why you are writing the text and what you intend to achieve from your readers. Okay, is it to make them laugh? Is it to convince them to take action or to let them understand something, to educate them, among others? Second is we have the audience. Okay, so do not forget to know your target audience. Okay, so is it for the youth? Is it for adults? Or is it for experts? Or is it for novices? So remember that you cannot always resonate to every single person in the world. You need to focus on a target audience. In this manner, you will be able to adjust the content, your use of language, and your style of presentation. And the last consideration as presented on screen is content and meaning. Your work needs to have substance. Apart from being considerate of your target audience, what will make them read the work is its content and meaning. That is why, among the many factors that contribute to the context of reading is whether they are classified as intertext or hypertext. So, as presented on screen, you would see that we have two meanings or descriptions of what an intertext is. So, the first one, it refers to a work whose meaning is shaped by referencing or calling to mind other texts. Another is it draws origin from literature and asserts that texts can only be understood in relation to other texts. Intertextuality is one of the literary techniques that I learned when I was in college. I remember our literary criticism professor gave us back then a requirement to choose a fairy tale in English and then find for a Filipino or Tagalog fairy tale counterpart for applying intertextuality. I then chose Cinderella and then compared it with Mariang Alimango. Yes, Mariang Alimango is the title of our local version of Cinderella. So in that fairy tale in Mariang Alimango, the beautiful and kind-hearted orphan that was always saved by the crab with magical powers, okay, can be compared with the hero or the lead character in the fairy tale Cinderella. So, using intertext in academic writing can make you widen your knowledge. How can that be? Reading more leads to knowing more, and that can help broaden what you know about the topic. Another, using intertext in academic writing can also make you view different texts and different perspectives. So when we refer to different texts and different authors, this will help in giving you other perspectives or other viewpoints about the same topic, preventing you from having a fundamentalist view of things. Okay, also, using intertext in academic writing can make you be more certain of what you know. Okay, so finding out that your ideas match the ideas of the previous authors helps validate the things that you know. It also increases the credibility of the information. Okay, so, with the benefits or advantages in using intertext, in what specific part of your research report is intertext best applied to? That is correct. So, it is the RRL or Review of Related Literature and Studies part of your research. So, what is intertextuality? As shown on the slide, intertextuality is the modeling of a text's meaning by another text. It is defined as the connections between language, images, characters, themes, or subjects depending on their similarities in language, genre, or discourse. What is pointed out here is that intertext is the layering of text and the similarities and differences that point to the connections. Let us now see examples of intertext, starting off with the novel of Clive Staples' Lewis. Okay, so to read the sample presented on screen, so The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe by C.S. Lewis. In this case, C.S. Lewis adapts the idea of Christ's crucifixion in his fantasy novel The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. He very shrewdly weaves together the religious and entertainment themes for a children's book. Lewis uses an important event from the New Testament, transforming it into a story about redemption. In doing so, he uses Edmund, a character that betrays his savior Aslan. Generally, the motive of this theme is to introduce other themes, such as evil actions, losing innocence, and redemption. In the example of C.S. Lewis, events and character from the New Testament was intertextualized in C.S. Lewis' fantasy novel. Let us take a look at another example by Fulja. Okay, so to read the example, I suspect that intertext, which describes the relationship of a document to others' documents, usually be explicit reference within the document, matters very little to the daily lives of most people. Scholars, okay, so the citations, references, footnoting, quotations, etc., by contrast, care about it a lot. So do lawyers, presidents, for instance, doctors, clergy, and pretty much anyone else whose job requires them to find related documents. Okay, just a background. David Folja is a former professor at Brooklyn College. He has a PhD in communication and social psychology. In Folja's example, intertext is seen to be very important for scholars or researchers, as well as for lawyers, doctors, and anyone whose job requires them to find related documents. So, all of you here working on your research topics as an academic requirement should find intertext an essential thing because you need to find related documents to establish relationships with your research study. Okay, so for more examples and clarifications about intertext, please check this link to visit the website. So this link gives you a discussion and presentation of intertextuality, as it is a reference guide on using texts to produce text. We now proceed to the last factor that contribute to the context of reading, which is hypertext. As presented on screen, hypertext is characterized by the external links embedded in a text by the writer. It is also It is also a non-linear way of showing information. It connects topics on a screen to related information, graphics, videos, music. So information is not simply related to the text. This information appears as links and usually accessed by clicking. Okay, so in short, hypertext pertains to the sequencing links. In this digital age, the use of computer and the internet to relate one topic to another can be done quickly and without much effort. With the use of a hypertext, the reader can read the text in a non-linear way because he is led to other links outside the main text. Okay, so non-linear because you are not to read it all at once, but you are being directed to another page for clarification or additional information. Also, with the use of a hypertext, the reader can arrive at the intended interpretation because he is led to where the author exactly wants him to go. Okay, so the author in here supports his points by creating another page that would persuade the reader about a certain idea being proposed by the same author. Okay, so now that it is our second year of online classes, hypertext is everywhere whenever you go online. So you will see them underlined either in blue or green. Okay, so you'll see from the example shown on screen, if you point the mouse or your cursor in the underlined word, which is intertext, okay, so when you do this, it will give you an information as to how you can get into this specific page. Okay, so you will see instructions on how to open the hyperlink. So therefore, it will lead you to another page or link. Okay, so the next slide shows you an example in print media. So when we say print media, that is if you are reading an article in a book or a journal. So it is seen as the commentaries and footnotes in the margins. So from the example presented on screen, you will see that this is the footnote which is seen, okay, a historical moniker given to the Philippines is the footnote which is seen at the bottom part of the page, giving a description or information about the superscript seen as 1 after the word cease in the first example, okay, or in the given example. So you call that a superscript. So a superscript is a character, symbol, or number set slightly above the normal line of the text. So what makes hypertext unique is the speed at which you can shift to different texts. When the first text mentions the concept that is also discussed in another text, all you have to do is to click the hyperlink and the other page will load. The succeeding slides will show you the steps to create hyperlinks. Okay, so the first one is select the text or picture that you want to display as a hyperlink. So press Control and K. And then you can also right-click the text or picture and click Link on the shortcut menu. And in the Insert Hyperlink box, type or paste your link in the address box. Okay, so if you want to ask or check for more examples and clarifications about hypertext, you may check this link presented on screen. Okay, so that ends our discussion of the context of text development. Thank you, and may the good Lord reward us always.